All right, everybody, what's going on? My name's Alex, and today I have a special guest with me all the way out on the East Coast, and I'd like to welcome him in, Kurt from K&K Sport Talk. What's going on, Kurt? How you doing today?
I'm awesome. How are you, Alex? Thank you for
Um,
the opportunity to join you today.
oh yeah, anytime, man. I'm glad to have you here. It's awesome having some new guests. You know, they probably get pretty sick of me and David all the time, so it's a nice little mix up. Um, but before we get started, I want to remind everyone who's watching right now, if you like our show, if you like what we're doing here on Rocky Mountain Sports Report, we have a Facebook page, we have Instagram, YouTube, a Twitter account, and if you guys like what we're doing here, go ahead and go follow us. We're always interactive with that stuff. We even have a website that we're trying to get more interactive with. So, like I said, go follow us. And then before we get started, I'd also like to shout out our sponsors, and one of them is Stoke the Fire out of Loveland, Colorado. Um, they supply Rockin' 4D meats out of Fort Lupton, Colorado. They have a bunch of variety. They got beef, pork, chicken, all the stuff that you guys are looking for, seasonings, anything that you guys are looking for that has to do with grilling or grilling accessories, they got it for you. So if you're around the Loveland area, go ahead and go check them out, and I promise you won't regret it. And then the last one I got is Willow Seasonings and Blends. That's a company that my dad actually has a big hand in, and he has these two new seasoning rubs that he just came out with, and they're called Sweet Smoke and Sweet Hot. I haven't had a chance to try it, but if it's like anything like my dad, they're going to be good. So go check those out as well. So that's that. Now we're on to the fun part, and that is talking sports. And that's what I'm really most excited to do with you here, Kurt. So the first thing I want to talk about is that Western Conference Final Game 3. Suns lost to the Clippers in Phoenix, 106-92. And I'm just wondering, what were your feelings after that game?
I'm going to be honest. It caught me a little bit by surprise. The Clippers obviously, don't have their guy Kawhi Leonard. And Phoenix has been, Phoenix won both games without Chris Paul. Chris Paul back from the virus, whatever we want to call it, the protocol. So he came back from that. And a lot of people thought, this might be an easy series now for Phoenix since they won both games without him. And the Clippers responded. Paul George responded big time, played like Paul George, when he was with Indiana. And it's 2-1. And, again, the great thing I think about that game was the Clippers and Pat Beverly. He shut down Devin Booker. I mean, Booker's been on fire. I think he held him to 15 points last night, 5 for 21. And you got to give Beverly credit. Ty Lue, little game planning. And, hey, I think if it gets to 2-2, it could be interesting. It could be interesting. And, but I was a little shocked last night. I thought Phoenix would beat them. And this is what now, the third series in a row that the Clippers started out 0-2, won both of the first two, and we'll see if they can tie it up again tomorrow.
Well, yeah, and everything you just said is completely on par. I think that Tyronn Lue, great coach. I've always been a fan of his. I think that he's always put together a good game plan. And with the personnel that he has, missing Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and, Patrick Beverly, he even has Rondo on his roster. He's always figured out a way to use those guys in a special way. And for them to win in Phoenix is a big thing, in my opinion. I think that that's a tough task because here in Denver, we saw it personally and we didn't do very well. So for them to go in there and kind of quiet the haters a little bit is a big thing for them. My next question to you is, going back to LA, do you think they have a chance at evening this series at 2-2?
I do. And I don't know. It might be just that the mentality that they got, get down 2-0, get down 2-1, and must win games. I mean, the Clippers have been the best so far in this playoff. Looking at it, if they had a healthy Kawhi, I think Phoenix doesn't get, and even myself, I don't think I'm giving Phoenix the respect that they are. They are a Western Conference finalist now, but a lot of people are still saying, but next round, next round, they're not going to get next round. And I think a healthy Clipper team, if they had Kawhi, I think would probably be the best team left out of the four. And but I do think I think that it seems that Booker and Paul have to have big games. And when I mean big games, like one of them is going to have to score in the 30s and Paul's going to have, maybe 50 points from both of them. Last night, they got 30 combined, and they don't really have that third guy, Eitan, but Eitan's more of like, an offensive rebound guy, a lob guy. Their bench really only scored, I think one player last night had over 10 points off their bench. So I'm going to go with the Clippers. I think the Clippers are going to get it to 2-2, and then I think they're going to make it a best of 3.
Okay. And then so if they do make it 2-2, do we see Kawhi Leonard later in the series, or is he out indefinitely?
You know what? He's a tough player, and you know what? He's played through injuries in the past, so I think if there's any way he can go, he will go. But you get the report where it's like, when they say out indefinitely, what does that mean? Like, are they trying to tell you, he can come back, or is it more like, we don't want to say he's done for the season, but he's done for the season. I hope so as a fan, just to see it. I would love to see this Clipper team with Kawhi. I think if it gets to 2-2, you're going to have a better chance. If it's 3-1, I don't think they're going to try to like rush him back. I know that probably doesn't make sense because it's like, you would, want to get him in when it's more desperate. But if he is hurt, I think they're going to look at this opportunity as like, this could be our first chance to win an NBA championship. So hopefully he does come back, but I do think they're going to get it to 2-2.
Right. I agree. I think that and honestly, as a fan, kind of having all the pieces on the table, not leaving anything to chance or what ifs. That's a big thing for me. I think that if Kawhi Leonard's back and Phoenix ends up winning or LA ends up winning, then that you had both versions at their very best.
Right.
And whoever comes out on top is clearly the better team. So that's kind of what I look for. And, I'm excited. If Kawhi does make it back, it'd be cool. If not, obviously his health is the first concern.
Absolutely.
So now let's switch it over to the Eastern Conference. We saw game 1. We saw Trae Young go completely insane, played lights out, even a little disrespectful, some people might call it. And my question to you is, can we kind of expect that same thing, or was it a one-time thing from Trae Young?
You know what? Being a diehard Knick fan, we spoke a little off air, and one of our co-hosts, Eddie Siciliano from the K&K, is always saying, and Kenny also, oh, well, maybe it's, it's not that the Knicks didn't do good in the playoffs. They were, the Hawks are really good, and they are really good. Another team, everyone's underestimating them. I never, I was very happy. I wanted to play Atlanta as a Knicks fan. Then you would say, okay, well, Philly's going to take care of them. They don't. And you go now and you get to game 1 and Trae Young goes off for 48 points. I just think Milwaukee, I'm a big believer in when you're down 0-1, especially at home, like Milwaukee season's on the line tonight. There's no way they can go down 0-2 at home and now have to go to Atlanta 0-2. So I think you're going to get the best performance tonight out of Milwaukee. They're going to, and again, not that Atlanta's not going to try to win, but hey, Atlanta got their split already. They are way more desperate, Milwaukee. I just don't know though, Alex, and we can get into it. How do they cover Trae Young? Like they don't have that defense. They play more of the bigger style, so they have Lopez, Greek Freak. Okay. And they have PJ Tucker. So obviously those are their bigs. So their backcourt is either going to be Drew Holiday or Chris Middleton, right? So one of those guys has to cover Trae Young. I mean, that's a lot of pressure on Drew Holiday because Middleton's really more of like a 2-guard / small forward. He's not going to be able to guard that point guard. So that's my point. My question, I guess, for you is, I don't know what else can they do. They can go Forbes off the bench, but I don't know if they have the personnel to, contain him. Like Young's going to get his points against this team.
Right. Honestly, in my opinion, I think that I would, you got to up your perimeter defense. Obviously, we know Trae Young can shoot and he could take the ball inside. But I think as a more reliable shooter and with the defense you have on the interior with, Giannis and all those other guys you mentioned, if you force him inside, it kind of plays to his weaker of the two attributes, I think. Not saying that he's a bad inside finisher, But if you can force them inside, then maybe you get lucky with a couple blocks, and things change in the turn of events. So
You know what I think, Alex, is what I think Milwaukee can't get into is Atlanta is a good 3-point shooting team. I mean, they got Bogey, Collins, obviously Trae Young, Gallinari, and Milwaukee, even in that Brooklyn series, kind of falls to that. We're going to play 3-point basketball, 3-point shooting too. And I just think they, especially against Brooklyn, when they went inside on Brooklyn, especially Greek Freak, it was, they did not stop them. But there were some games when you're like, why are they shooting 34 threes? I mean, game one, they're, 8 for 36 from three. If they fall into that game, it's just, like that's giving Atlanta the advantage. Like you just said, use your physical guys, go inside, get Greek Freak inside, even Lopez inside. But, sometimes Milwaukee just they fall in love with that 3-pointer, and, that's
right.
not their game. That's not their game.
And that's exactly what I was saying is you don't want to fall into that trap. You don't want to, take that bait, because they're going to give it to you all night, hoping that you shoot 30% from three. And if you do, then they win the game, most likely,
Right.
So, and then we got, our original host on here, David, saying hello from Stanley Hotel in Estes Park. I guess he's looking for ghosts, so that's pretty cool. And then I don't know if you've seen this one, Kurt, but someone put some shame on you for not wearing the Broncos jersey.
That's Kenny, my co-host on K&K. I know. I was thinking about it, but I didn't want to. I'm going to hold off until football season.
Right.
Or I couldn't. I couldn't decide which one of my jerseys to go with. I mean, I didn't want to.
You got too many. That's what he's saying.
That's it.
All right. So now we're gonna move on to something that I'm not a super fan, like I am with basketball or football, and I hope you have a little more knowledge than I do. But we're gonna have some fun with it, and that's hockey. NHL hockey's in the same place basically as the NBA playoffs, and the Canadians just secured their spot in the Stanley Cup Finals, and they just moved past Las Vegas. So really, the only question is what can you expect from the Canadians going into the Stanley Cup Final Series?
I want to say, I could be wrong, but I believe that they had the worst record of any of the playoff teams coming into the postseason this year in the NHL. And, down 3-1 to Toronto, they were pretty much, everyone's done. It's going to be Toronto. They come back and they won, I want to say it's 11 out of 13 games. And I mean, I'm going to ask you because you're really in the area. Everyone I was listening to on the radio was your Stanley Cup champ is going to come out of that Vegas, Colorado series. So Vegas beats the Avalanche in your area, and now they're overwhelming. I heard people saying it's going to be, Vegas in 4, maybe Vegas in 5 over Montreal. Montreal comes back, wins in 6. So, I mean, let me ask you this. You like you're saying, your Colorado area, once Vegas beat the Avs, would you say Vegas was the favorites to win the whole thing?
Yeah. I mean, from my fan standpoint, yeah, I think so, just because of how good the Avs were. And, they had some timely injuries that put them on, the chopping block, and it happens to the best teams. And, I can't fault anyone for that. But at the same time, Las Vegas came out and they played some good hockey. They were doing things that the Avalanche couldn't hang with. Their goaltending seems superior. And then they get into the Montreal series, and it seems like Fleury's having some troubles. And then they put in their other guy, and it seems like he's kind of struggling. So, if they could have figured out how to, secure their goalie position, I think they would have had a better shot. Fleury was an older guy, obviously hadn't had much rest in this playoff run. So I understand why they went to their second guy. But at the same time, I would have liked them to stick with Fleury because he probably would have been a better option. So that's really my biggest opinion.
Yeah. But you know what? It's like they're playing with house money, So, I think the favorites will either be the Islanders or obviously Tampa Bay, whoever does get there. But, you got to give them a puncher's chance in the finals. I mean, they just went through Vegas. So that's
Vegas. And like I said, Vegas is a very good team. So you can't take any kind of slight off what they did against Vegas because they played some good hockey too. So,
yeah.
So really, the next thing that I want to talk about is the other side Looks like, give me 1 second to pull up my notes. Um, Looks like the Islanders are traveling to Tampa, and this is more your area now. So we're on
Yep.
your side of the world in Game 7. And I kind of want to know your feelings. Do you think Islanders have it in the bag? Do you think they kind of have an upper hand because they just forced this Game 7, so now they're moving to Tampa, even though they're on Tampa's ice? Do you think they have a better shot?
I'm going to be honest. I'm not an Islander fan, but being from the area, I'm going to root for them tonight. I would say that odds are Tampa Bay, obviously, I still believe is the favorite. They're at home, Game 7. A crazy stat I saw today is they haven't lost a consecutive postseason game in over 2 years. So tonight, since they lost Game 6, this would be a back-to-back loss if they did lose. And since 2000 and I believe it was 18, they have not faced a winner take all game, Tampa Bay. But I just thought it was awesome on, what was that, Wednesday night at the barn. They're closing the barn. Islanders are going into their new stadium next year. And to have a win like that, to get to Game 7, a win, an overtime win, the place has been electric all playoff. It's just, I just don't know. I'm rooting for him tonight, Alex, but it's a tall task to beat Tampa Bay. I mean, I think Tampa Bay has been the favorite all along. Tampa Bay, I think, in Colorado, but it's going to be hard. Hey, if they pull this off tonight, if they can win in Tampa tonight, I think they're going to win the cup. I think it's, I just like I said when it was Colorado Vegas Game 5, or I'm sorry, Game 6. And I said to Kenny and Sis, I said, if Colorado beats Vegas in Game 6, they're either going to be out or they're going to win the Stanley Cup. And obviously they're out. I think it's the same thing tonight. I think the Islanders, they win the cup tonight. I think they would beat Montreal. This is going to be the toughest game they're going to face, obviously, all year. I hope they do it, but I would pick Tampa Bay. I just think it's going to be too tough in that building.
Right. And I mean, anyone who knows sports knows that any kind of road game, especially in a Game 7, is a tough atmosphere to play in. So that's really what gets me the most is that they may be a good team, and I'm not taking anything away from them, but to go into someone's house in a Game 7 to go to the Stanley Cup Finals, it's a tall order. And like I said, I'm going for the Islanders too. Not a huge hockey fan, but I have seen a couple Islanders games here and there, and I think they have a good hockey team. And if they could do it, that would be amazing. It'd probably be one of the greatest sports moments I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, and you know what? They had a great little run last year, the Islanders, too, where, they were like a sneaky pick. I want to say they were maybe like a 4 seed or however it was last year, and they got pretty far. And this year, you got your Bostons and your Tampa Bays and your Avalanche, and they were kind of, again, under the radar a little. And but hey, you're here. Listen, you got to take. If they said to you it's a winner take all Game 7, and you got to go to Tampa, you're going to take it. But just from that stat of they haven't lost a postseason game, 2 postseason games in a row in over 2 years, it's going to be daunting. But I hope they do it.
Yeah, and I'm actually really excited for this game. So whenever it's on, I'll definitely make time to watch it. So
yeah, me too. Me too.
All right, so with that being said, now we're going to move on to some baseball, and we're going to talk just the Rockies today because it's all I'm familiar with. I hope that's all right with you, Kurt.
Absolutely. Yep.
So the Rockies traveled to Milwaukee after having yesterday off, and they're trying to find a win still on this 5-game road trip. And really, I mean, what kind of things can the Rockies do to maximize their percentage to win?
Again, it's amazing. I mean, again, you're in that area, but I listen to a lot of Denver radio being a big Bronco fan, and they're just saying that 6-28 road record. It's, 30, I believe they're 31-44 and, 6-28 on the road. It's just, I don't know. It's mind boggling. I mean, what's your thoughts on that of how is it that much of a home field, or is it just that they're not that talented of a team? And just because when they're at home, it gives them that little advantage.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's just comfortable. I think they're comfortable at home. I think they play well here because of the fact that they know that they have a leg up on everybody, even though people will say that the altitude doesn't affect them. and I don't really think it affects hitting the ball or pitching the ball that much, but the altitude does have an effect on athletes, with their personal training and the way they run and stuff like that. So I will give them that. But when they go on the road, I think it's mismanagement. I really do. And I've talked about this with my dad for the last week until I'm blue in the face. But their manager is just not doing the right things. He's not pushing the right buttons. He's not making the right moves. And I know it's hard when you're already in a slump, you're going on a downhill trend, but as a professional manager in a professional sport, you have to find a way to get your team to win games on the road. That's part of your job. And for him, he just hasn't been doing it. And I think it's part of the reason why he'll be on his way out either at the All-Star break or at the end of the season. So, I mean, I really hope that at the end of the day, they can find a way to win tonight, because I've never been a Milwaukee fan. I've always, none of the players have really been my favorites. I think they had CC Sabathia for a while, and I wasn't a fan of him. So I kind of have a bad taste in my mouth. It's a little bit like a rivalry game. So I really hope that they can go in and, shut up the Milwaukee Bruins. So
now I have a question about the Rockies with you, is because in this area we're hearing a lot about Yankees possibly looking into Trevor Story. You still have Blackman there. Do you think that, one, the Rockies are going to sell off before the trade deadline? And do you think that's affecting this team at all? Or do you just think that they are young, and what would you do if you were in charge of the Rockies? What would you do? Would you sell them off and really go young? Or would you just try to keep this team together? And I mean, I'm going to say wild card, but your game's out, or would you ride it out with this team?
So it's a little bit of both. Honestly, if I was the manager, I would just start over, because at this point, you got good players. Obviously you mentioned Story, you mentioned Blackman, but those guys, Story's kind of entering his prime. He's going into a place where he's going to be playing his best baseball for the next 5 to 6 years. And you don't want to waste that, because this team has a lot of problems with it. And it's far more than just pitching. It's far more than just one position. So they're going to have to do a lot of things to get this team to be either a wild card team or a division champ. So I would, clean the slate, bring in young players, figure out who you want on your team, and find people that are going to win you baseball games. And that includes pitching, basemen, fielders, all that stuff. And even management is a big thing. We got to find someone who's going to be committed to this team and find the right pieces, because right now it's just not working. And I don't know if there's much you can salvage from the team that we have on the field right now.
Do you think Trevor Story would help a team like the Yankees out?
I do. I mean, not in like a Derek Jeter kind of way, obviously, but at the same time, I think he can contribute to his batting is decent. His fielding is definitely up there. And I don't know. I mean, if he went to a team that had supporting cast members, he wouldn't be in the limelight all the time. So he wouldn't have to be this spectacular player. And that would probably do well for him in this time as his career.
So if you had to pick tonight, Gray and Burns tonight, so let me, which game would you take? If we're going to say, would you be happy with one of 3 against Milwaukee as a Rocky fan?
Yeah. I mean, as long as that one win came on the road.
Right. So. That's what I'm saying. So if the series, so if it's tonight, Saturday and Sunday, what game would you say it's tonight? Because Gray's on the mound is your best chance?
I mean, Gray hasn't really been all that great either. So I don't know if he's our best chance. That's what I'm saying. It just really depends on the day. I do think that he can get it done. And if he comes out tonight and he plays well, then I'm happy for him. And I'd much rather it be sooner than later. That's really my thing. So
I hear you on that.
So, but yeah, that's really all we got for the MLB. Obviously you can see at the bottom of the screen, John Gray's going to be on the mound tonight. He'll get the start, 4.29 ERA, and hopefully he can get the job done. So, now we're going to move on to one of my favorite topics is the NFL. And, looks like they came out with a memo late last night. And it says the NFL has made a decision to allow teams to wear throwback helmets in addition to their throwback uniforms. And if you didn't know, in previous years, it had just been their original helmets and then, their throwback uniforms. There was no changing the helmet unless you were wearing Color Rush uniforms, and then you could change it up. So really, I mean, as a Broncos fan, do you think that this adds a little bit more swag to what we do here in Mile High City?
I love it. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I love the, I'm going to go a little old school with the light blue and the D helmet, but I love the new one where it was the Color Rush, where they had it was like the navy blue with the old style D. And I love that helmet. I wish that could be our helmet going forward. But I'm all for it. I love when they mix and match uniforms. You look at some of the helmets they were talking about, the Tampa Bay, the old Tampa Bay, the old New England. There's awesome helmets. I love what the NFL is doing. I think it's awesome.
Is there a particular team other than the Broncos that you would like to see with their throwback helmets?
I like the New England. I don't like anything about New England being a Bronco fan. I can tell you that, but I do like the old style, Patriot, with the guy with the snap. And I do like that. I do like that helmet. And I also like the old school Tampa Bay one.
Yep. I agree. And also I know a lot of people don't like this one, but I really like the Eagles one. The blue, the baby blue with the arrow on top. That is probably by far one of my favorite uniforms of all time. So I think it's pretty cool. I think the NFL has done a good thing, with this. We're going to see a lot of cool uniform combinations. And a lot of my coaches growing up, playing sports and stuff, told me if you look good, you play good. So
that's it.
So I'm pretty excited to see.
What's your favorite Bronco one?
My favorite Bronco helmet of all time. So the only reason I know about this is because of Madden. And you can change your uniforms to however you want. There are no rules. It's real old school. I think it was probably one of their first helmets. And it has that goofy looking Bronco on the side. And it looks like it was drawn by like a 3-year-old. And then it's an all orange helmet and it has a white pinstripe down, And I don't know, for whatever reason, if the Broncos were to come out in those helmets, I'd be a happy camper that day. That's for sure. So.
Now, awesome. But like you said, I love the idea. It's gonna make it interesting. It brings something new. It's like almost like college, because you get how many of these college teams do this every week. Oregon has a different helmet every week, and it's pretty cool.
Right. I agree, and yeah, exactly. And Oregon being one of my favorite college football teams, just because of the fact that they have so many different uniform combinations, and the way they play football there. If you could do that kind of thing here in the NFL and make, 30, 40 different uniform combinations, it would be crazy because, that gives more it's just a good thing, too, all around for any organization that does it, because the more jerseys you create, the more fan revenue you're going to get.
Absolutely.
You're going to get people buying your helmets, mini helmets, all that stuff. And, that kind of thing, if you time it right, can be worth a lot of money. So that's what's cool about it to me. So. But yeah, man, that's all I got for us today. I know it wasn't a very interesting topic line for today, but I'm glad I had you here with me, Kurt. It's been a great show. And anytime you want to come back, I'd be more than happy to do a show with you. And if I could ever join you on K&K, definitely take you up on that.
Absolutely. All you guys, like I always said, thank you again for working with you. It was awesome. Great show with you. And again, I would definitely love to come back on with you. And I know I speak for Kenny, my co-host Kenny, and Sis. Anytime you want to come on, you're more than welcome to talk about anything. But anytime you want to talk Broncos. I'm always outnumbered on our show with the Broncos. I got giant guys. I need help. So,
man, if you want to talk with giant guys, I could be your firepower any day of the week.
That's it. I need help. I need my backup.
All right, Kurt. Well, with that, I'm just going to say goodbye and thank you guys for listening. Thanks for the comments, Kenny, David. I appreciate you guys every day. You guys are on here. I don't know what we would do without fans like you, and hopefully you guys continue to stick around. So with that, I'm going to say peace, and I'll see you guys later.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Later, guys.